You know the name Jack Ma. You definitely know Alibaba. But do you know his real superpower? Here's a hint. It's not success. It's failure. Today, we're going to dive into how the founder of a tech giant became a grandmaster of getting rejected.
Okay, let's just start right there. This isn't some motivational quote on a poster. This is straight from the man himself. 10 times. 10 times he knocked on Harvard's door, and 10 times they said, "Nope, not you." It's a shocking number, right? But believe it or not, that was just the warm-up.
Yeah, it didn't stop with Harvard. After college, he went job hunting, sent out 30 different applications, and got back 30 rejections. I mean, just think about that for a second. He wasn't just aiming for the top, he was trying to get any job, and every single door just kept slamming in his face. So you have to ask yourself, how does somebody take that much rejection and still go on to build an empire? Well, it all starts here. This was his training ground, his trial by fire in the art of getting back up. Let's really get a sense of the scale of what he was up against. Just look at this timeline. This wasn't a bad month or a rough year. We're talking about a decade of consistent, soul-crushing failure. He failed his university entrance exams 3 times just to get into a local college, then the 10 Harvard no's, and then 30 more rejections from employers. It was just this relentless barrage of, "You're not good enough." And after all that, when he finally did get a yes and landed a job teaching, you know what his salary was? A whopping $10 a month. So even his first taste of what looked like success was basically a struggle to survive. This is the foundation, the bedrock that he built everything on. So how did this whole history of rejection end up shaping him? Well, it forged a totally different kind of conviction in him. Because when he stumbled upon this new thing called the internet, he was about to face a massive wave of doubt. And this time, he was ready for it. And this right here, this illustrates that moment of truth perfectly. He gathered his friends, his trusted advisors, to pitch his new idea. And out of 24 people in that room, 23 of them told him he was out of his mind. They literally called it a stupid idea. But Ma, the one lone person on the other side of that room, he held on to his belief. See, after years and years of being told no, he'd finally learned to trust his own gut. And it wasn't just his friends. The smart money, the professionals, they all agreed with him. He spent 3 months begging banks for a tiny $3,000 loan. The answer? No. He pitched to over 30 different venture capitalists. Every single one of them shot him down. The professional verdict was unanimous. Alibaba was a terrible, terrible idea. So, no money, barely any support. How on earth did this terrible model even get off the ground? Well, this next part of the story is all about redefining what success even means when you're just starting out. For the first 3 years of its life, Alibaba made exactly $0 in revenue. Nothing. Zip. Zilch. For 3 straight years, they operated purely on the money the founders scraped together and, well, a whole lot of faith. So what kept them going? This. It wasn't about profits, it was about purpose. Ma said the emails they got from customers were their lifeblood. People writing in saying, "Hey, we can't pay you, but what you're building is changing our lives." That feeling of making an impact, that was their real currency. That was their fuel. And out of all this rejection and pure persistence, Ma forged a philosophy, a mindset that really separates the people who create things from the people who just criticize them. Let's break it down. He calls it the optimist's edge. And this isn't just about, thinking positive thoughts. It's a real strategic advantage. McCourt realized that guys like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett aren't just lucky. They operate differently. They see the future as something that can be built, not something to be afraid of. So while everyone else is complaining about what's broken, they're already looking for the tools to fix it. And that is the core mental shift. Complaints aren't just noise. They are signals pointing directly to an opportunity. And this isn't just some vague idea. He actually boiled it down into a 4-step framework. First, you have to actively listen for complaints. That's your market research right there. Second, you dig into that complaint to find the real opportunity that's hiding inside all that frustration. Third, you think, okay, how can I solve this differently? Not just a little bit better, but with a whole new approach. That's where innovation comes from. And finally, the most important step of all, you start. You do it now, not tomorrow, not next week. That urgency, that's what separates the dreamers from the doers. Which brings us to the final and honestly, the most crucial part of his message. Because it's one thing to have a great idea, but it's a whole other thing to actually bring it to life. This is where the responsibility shifts from him directly to you. Man, I think this quote just hits home for so many of us, doesn't it? It is so easy to dream up these world-changing ideas at night. The hard part is waking up the next morning and actually doing something about them, instead of just falling back into the same old routine. So, what's the ultimate takeaway here? It's this: you have to trust your own brain. Forget what the investors think, forget what your friends think, forget what even your parents think. The only thing that matters is that you believe, that your team believes, and that you are willing to pour every ounce of your energy into making it happen.
Ultimately, his advice is simple. Get your priorities straight. Don't go chasing money, chase your dream. If you build something that's valuable, something that genuinely helps people, he's convinced the money will eventually find its way to you.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. Jack Ma built a global empire by just listening to what people were frustrated about. So, the question for you is, what are the complaints you hear every single day? And maybe, just maybe, what incredible opportunity is hiding inside them?